on China on some goods as high as 245%. What will be the future of this trade war? We decode. The Blue Smart electrical vehicle scam jolts India's startup ecosystem. Blue Smart reportedly exiting its crore-worth businesses as dubious deals surface. And Trump administration's crackdown on immigration intensifies. U.S. judge blocks deportation of Indian student in Wisconsin. Are there lessons and messaging here for the Trump administration as well, which has gone from illegal to legal deportation? A seismic shift has undertaken in South Asian geopolitics, viewers. China has officially entered the Teesta Project. Some reports indicate so. What seems like development aid may now soon be becoming something more strategic. Chinese ambassador has announced, according to some reports, that not only is it funding the long-delayed Teesta water management project, but it's also building 3 major hospitals along the India-Bangladesh border. This includes the 1,000-bed gift facility just miles from India's sensitive 22-kilometer-wide Siliguri Corridor, also known as Chicken's Neck. It will be in the Nilfa Mari near the Teesta and perilously close to the Indian border. The Teesta serves as a lifeline, remember, for millions in West Bengal. But behind the smiles and aid lies the unmistakable shadow of Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative, a strategic chess game where every move aims to redraw the balance of power. What will be New Delhi's options? We decode. But first up, as always, the big questions on our debate. First up, in terms of what we are looking at, is China's investment in healthcare truly humanitarian? There are 3 hospitals, but what really are the intentions of China here? We decode. Next up, is India's water security now becoming vulnerable after China's Teesta inclusion? Next up, the big question, will China's gift hospitals, 3 of them, be used for strategic surveillance by Beijing because they are so close to the border? How will China's growing ties with Dhaka impact India's historical influence? The country is going through turmoil. There is complete vulnerability. There is vacuum of power as well. How will all of this be utilized by China? We decode that. Dr. P.K. Mishra, former ADG BSF, joins me on the broadcast along with Faisal Mahmood, who's Minister Press of Bangladesh High Commission, and we also have Veena Sikri, as always, former High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh. In fact, let me start with you, Dr. Mishra, which is that some of these developments and reports that are coming in are disturbing simply because they are so close to the Indian border.
Yes, I can well tell you things are very bad as far as Indo-Bangladesh border is concerned. We should tell it is not Bangladesh. It is either it is just Pakistan now or it is mini Pakistan now. The China has, in fact, Muhammad Yunus has laid a red carpet for China, inviting them to take over the Teesta project and constructing 3 hospitals so close to border. With that, I will tell you at Lal Mandir Haat, they are now modernizing the earlier World War II airfield. And in fact, I can tell you at Chatgaon also, the economic development of Chatgaon is also being taken up by China. And the latest input, I can tell you that PLA officers are available, are staying in 1 5-star hotel in Chatgaon, which has been confirmed. And things are very bad because
that's an important point you're making, sir. That's an important point about growing Chinese presence in the region.
Yes, and with that, I can well tell you that it's not only that Bangladesh, you see, as far as the Northeast is concerned, it is not only that in the, our Siliguri Corridor, they will be keeping an eye. They are keeping an eye on whole of Northeast, including Mizoram and Manipur and Arunachal Pradesh.
Let me get Veena Sikri on this, and then I'm going to get Faisal Mahmood as well to respond to what your observations may be. Veena Sikri, respond to what Dr. Mishra just said in terms of the apprehensions about some of these Chinese projects. And in fact, the questions that we're also raising, that are these, even the gift hospitals, strategic in nature because they are close to the Indian border, they will allow surveillance, greater Chinese presence, and also the fact that Teesta is important for millions of people in Bengal as well.
Let me tell you quite clearly that these so-called decisions that have been announced by the interim regime of Bangladesh, which is an illegal, unconstitutional government, these are naming those very projects on which India had already conveyed to Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina our deep concerns, our security red lines on these projects. And it was on the basis of India's concerns and security red lines on these projects that the government of Bangladesh, under Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, had decided against giving the Teesta water management project to China or against the construction of a hospital. That time even Panchagar was being talked about, now Nilphamari is being talked about. And these decisions by this illegal, unconstitutional government are deliberate acts of provocation. Are very deliberate acts of provocation. They are trying to annoy the Indian government with every step they take. They're not even an elected regime. They are there by a regime change operation.
Yes.
They're refusing to for elections. Everybody is asking for early elections, but they are asking. It is a completely situation of deliberate provocation.
That's an important. Okay, that the observation that you've made. And let me get Faisal Mahmood on that, which is that an interim government, should it be taking decisions that are so strategic and long-term in nature? Shouldn't those be left to the next elected government? Faisal Mahmood?
Thank you, Gaurie. I'll answer to your question, but let me clarify one thing. Teesta originates from northern Sikkim and it flows through Bangladesh and goes to Bay of Bengal. So it's essentially a river between two countries, right? So China shouldn't have come into the equation if India shares the give the fair share of Teesta water to Bangladesh, so that the dispute lies there. Now you understand that Bangladesh lies in the downstream of Teesta. So whatever Bangladesh does in its part of Teesta, it likely wouldn't affect India ecologically or any other way, because a downstream country cannot affect an upstream country. So India's concern is about security, understandably, because if Chinese presence get increased in Bangladesh, India obviously have the right to be agitated. But I don't think Bangladesh is in a position to, pose any sort of security concern to India, because it is not their, it is not Bangladesh's intention to pose any security concern.
PK Mishra wants to respond there in terms of the security challenges that lie.
I will tell you, I will repeat that it is a security risk. Not only that, they are modernizing Mongla port, and it's in Chatgaon. I will tell you, in fact, our persons are there at Chatgaon and they are keeping a watch, and I know how we are keeping a watch. The PLA has already, it is not that they will, they have penetrated at Chatgaon, and Chinese weapons are coming to Chatgaon and being given to Bangladesh army for training. It has already been started. Number two, just order. China, in addition with development and modernization of Mangala port, they have requested China for acquiring fighters jet. And
okay, so what you're saying is arms, technology, as well as physical Chinese presence. That's what you're saying. Faisal Mahmood, respond. These are not apprehensions. Okay, everybody can't speak at the same time. Faisal Mahmood, these are not apprehensions. These are real changes that are happening on ground, and it impacts India directly.
Okay, so I'll pose a question. Do you understand what Teesta Project, what Chinese proposal is about? It's about Bangladesh is a downstream country and we're not getting fair share of waters from Indian side. So that's why in monsoon and other season it gets flooded. So we just want to, the whole project is about widening our riverbed so that the monsoon season it doesn't get flooded. It's a river management project, and I think it's a fair deal from Bangladesh to look for other avenues other than India to make sure that our rivers don't get flooded during the monsoon, and China offers us to make sure that doesn't happen. So
Veena Sikri had a point to make. Quickly, ma'am, quickly.
Yes, my point is very clear. First of all, the distinguished person from the Bangladesh High Commission in Delhi has not answered the basic question about why an illegitimate, unconstitutional government brought in by regime change is making these
I'll answer to it, ma'am.
announcements. No, please, let me finish what I'm saying. Secondly, it is very well known that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had made an announcement about giving this project to India, and had said clearly that this project for security concerns should go to India and not to Bangladesh. Secondly, even about the Mongla port project, which Mr. P.K. Mishra has spoken about, this project too was announced for giving to India. Now, these deliberate acts of provocation, one after another, that every project which was given to India is
now being given to China. Faisal Mahmood, suddenly all projects that were to come to New Delhi are now going to Beijing.
Let me answer that. I mean, during the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's visit in last June, they said that the Teesta Project will go to India, and India was supposed to send a team, and he said that it will send in quick time, but that team had never arrived. You know, Sheikh Hasina was ousted on
Surprising
August,
that
so you have more than 1 year.
Reasoning now.
That team had never arrived. That's the point. And number two, let me ask Bina Sikri ma'am's question. This government is not, this is an unelected government, that's true, but that's not, if you want to put it like that, this is an unconstitutional government, that's probably true. But you know, this government has the legitimacy of a mass uprising, which ousted a
there is
very
no mass uprising. There was no mass uprising.
Mahmood, we are derailing from the larger question, which was very simple, that strategic projects which impact India directly are now being handed over to China. 30 seconds, respond to that.
In what way it is affecting India? I say that we are downstream country. It's not going to affect ecologically to India. Security concern, there is no answer to it, because you can put any words and you can spin it in any way. But the point is, Bangladesh is not posing any security concern to India. That's true.
Okay. I'm going to give 30 seconds of response to Dr. Mishra. I'm running out of time completely. Dr. Mishra, very quickly.
Yes, I can well tell you that it is primarily a security risk, because Lal Manir Hat airstrip is going to be used for attack aircraft of China, and China is putting their attack aircrafts and drones at Lal Manir Hat airfield. It is very close to Chicken Neck. We have to be very
That is the fundamental point. That is the fundamental point why New Delhi should be raising more objection to this. I'm out of time, but I promise this is an issue that I'm going to come back to and address, simply because of the many implications it has. And viewers, bottom line really is that China's hospital projects that we talked about may appear benevolent, but their strategic placement and alignment along with the Teesta initiative signal a deeper intent to expand influence in a region that is critical to India's security, to its geopolitical environment. China calls it a partnership. India sees a provocation. As Bangladesh stands in the middle, the Teesta may now flow through a far more turbulent current. This is more than a river. It's the likely next front in the great Asian rivalry. And on that note, I slip into a short break, come back on the other side, talk more about the blue smart EV scam that has jolted India's startup ecosystem. Lessons and learnings from here on. We tell you more after this break.
Be the one thing that can change everything. Be bold.
Be authentic.
Be brilliant.
Be the unexpected.
Be an open heart.
Be true.
The beauty.
The laughter.
The laughter. In a world where you can be anything.
Be love. Be love.
Be love.
Be love.
My love is your love.
Pandora.
I think that there's something that's always there that I just need to uncover. Like, I know I'm gonna get there, but I have to be patient with myself. That's probably the scary part for me. And it's okay, like, if you completely pivot and change. You know, you have to be comfortable with that.
We know that living with diabetes can make daily life a challenge, and we're here to help.
I felt very low with the diagnosis and very lonely as well, and embarrassed.
I think people don't necessarily realise the impact that being diabetic can have on you, and the amount of extra decisions you have to make a day through carb counting every single thing you eat.
Day-to-day living with diabetes is really difficult. So Diabetes UK has made my life easier every day.
If you're struggling with the everyday challenges diabetes can bring, maybe it's time to become a Diabetes UK member. Call 0800 035 7601 or go online to become a member. And for just £3 a month, you'll get a welcome pack and a practical guide tailored to your type of diabetes, and a copy of Balance magazine 4 times a year.
Balance magazine has been very good in giving me tips to manage my diabetes on a day-to-day basis.
Plus regular email updates with the latest diabetes news and special discounts.
One of the things I was recommended to do was exercise. What motivated me was my love of dance, and I got that back.
Join a community that really understands. Call 0800 035 7601 or go online to become a member for just £3 a month.
I would recommend Diabetes UK to anyone with diabetes. Join up, become part of a community, get that support that you need.
Someone's happy. Get that lucky cow feeling with luckycowbingo.com/bingo. The site that's bursting with beautiful bingo games. 75 ball bingo. Even 90 ball bingo. Fill your bingo boots today. Get that lucky cow feeling at luckycowbingo.com/bingo or download the Lucky Cow Android app from the Play Store.
Started as a clean energy dream, Blue Smart, the electric ride-hailing startup that promised to disrupt the future of mobility. But the wheels are now coming off. Blue Smart is reportedly exiting its core business, shifting from building a platform to simply supplying cars for rival Uber. But the real shock lies beneath the surface. SEBI has dropped a bombshell. Anmol Singh Jaggi and his brother Puneet, who are the founders of Gensol and promoters of Blue Smart, allegedly turned the electric dream into a personal piggy bank. EV loans worth nearly 1,000 crore rupees meant to electrify India's roads were instead rerouted through shell companies, layered transactions to purchase a 43 crore rupee luxury flat at the Camellias. 200 crore still remains unaccounted for. That isn't all. On your screens are exactly where all that money was spent. 26 lakh rupees for a golf set, 3 crores to a spouse, 6 crores to mother. What was meant to power electric cars is now powering their elite lifestyles. SEBI's interim order is damning, calling the brothers' actions a gross abuse of public funds. They're now being barred from holding directorships and are blocked from accessing the markets as well. But what does this really mean in terms of the impact on the startup ecosystem? Let me now get in Mr. J.N. Gupta, who is the former executive director of SEBI, as well as S. Ravi, former chairman of BSE, to understand the implications and what can be done in terms of these funds. Mr. Gupta, let me start with you, sir. The SEBI has come out with some very damning revelations in terms of what all went wrong when it comes to Blue Smart. How do you see this entire scam and how the money has actually been siphoned off?
See, if you look at SEBI order and everything, the crux lies in the related party transaction. Right. Everything has happened because of related party transaction. And how all these related party transactions have been facilitated, it could not have been done unless until the entire ecosystem was supported. That means CFO would have known it, the person who is making the bank voucher would have known it. So everybody in the system would have known it that the money is being diverted. What SEBI has done, SEBI has punished the beneficiary only, those people who have benefited out of this transaction. But I would say in order to stop anything like this, you got to get to those people also who have been facilitating this transaction. I agree that it will become difficult that the person who is subordinate to the boss or promoter or something would have courage or spine to say, I will not do it. So I don't punish him, but at least call them for investigation, call them for interview and warn them so that the message goes down the line that SEBI is looking into it, and if you are part of the operation, that you are facilitating something, you will be hauled up. So
right.
The issue that comes always is this, that related party transaction, are they good or bad? The simple answer is this: related party transaction per se are not bad. They become bad when your intent becomes abusive or you want to benefit out of it.
Okay.
Beyond the
Hold your thought there, sir. Mr. Ravi, I want to bring you in, sir. In terms of some of the siphoning of funds, how they've actually been made into shell companies and how the money then flew out of the, pretty much exited the company. How do you see the message it sends to investors? Because at the end of the day, startups attract global money, but such instances also, you know, start the chain reaction of investors wanting to stay away from startups.
So good evening. First of all, I endorse what you said. Actually, such a activity or such a siphoning of or diversion of funds, actually the confidence of the investors get very easily lost. And we have seen it in the past also. Many big companies have gone down under because of the type of diversions or personal gains which people or promoters did. It caused a lot of concern to the investors. Here is one case where the investors will lose confidence. They will also relook at all the future options of various other companies in which they are supposed to invest. And also it brings bad name to the Indian governance system, which is prevalent. And as Mr. Gupta very correctly stated, related party transaction becomes questionable, though most of them are genuine.
Mr. Ravi, what is related party transaction? If you could explain that to our viewers in simple terms, because they may not know the finances that go behind it, but they all would be wondering what happens to the startup ecosystem.
So related party, just to give an example, somebody buys a house out of the money of the funds for which it was not given. For example, in this case, 900 crores was taken from IREDA and PFC for a particular utilization, but I take the money out and use it for personal, for example, building a house, residence, whatever, or a flat, and I just take it out. So it becomes a related party transaction, which is not adding value to the business, and it is not part of the business plan which is being projected to the institutions and the investor. So it is something that has been away from the business,
okay,
but it is for a personal gain.
Okay, that's I think most important. Yeah, that's correct. At the end of the day, it is such particular instances that erode confidence and also bring bad name when it comes to entrepreneurship as well as you know, the overall startup ecosystem. Mr. Gupta, then let me ask you in terms of checks and balances. At the end of the day, of course, there are elaborate governance norms, there are elaborate mechanisms, but if there are not enough checks and balances, such instances come to light, raising the issue of entrepreneurship getting a bad name.
See, there are no dearth of checks and balances. There are enough checks and balances, and we can put 10 more checks and balances. But the problem is the people who have to enforce the checks and balances do not do it. You can make a law, but you cannot enforce the law by holding the neck of the person. See, SEBI or policeman or anybody cannot be sitting in each and every boardroom holding the independent director by the neck, or auditors by the neck, or secretarial audit by the neck, or CFO by the neck. The responsibility is with these people to ensure the checks and balances are followed. Problem is that I failed to do my duty. Now, if I fail to my duty, why I fail? I either fail because of ignorance, or because of complicity, or because of fear. All three are bad. So most of the time it happens, either I am a complicit or I am fearful. It is rare that it is the ignorance, because all the directors who are there, they are all well educated. The chartered accountant is educated, so everybody is educated. It is either fear or complicity.
Fear or greed, those are universal sentiments, and at the end of the day, institutional mechanisms need to ensure that they are able to be arrested. On that note, I have to end this discussion. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me. Bottom line, viewers, is that a journey that began with the promise of clean transport ends with a scandal that's dirtier than diesel. For India's EV ecosystem, it's a sobering jolt. Byju's and Blue Smart are isolated incidents, but there are lessons for the Indian startup ecosystem. Stronger governance mechanisms, more robust checks and balances are the only way the ecosystem will continue to attract not just investors, but also best talent and more research and development. If we want to move up the value chain from plain vanilla 10-minute delivery startups, then ensuring investor confidence remains intact is most crucial. Viewers, turning attention now to a viral video that happened in Pakistan where a kiss has gone viral. But it's no love story, it's a shocking stunt involving a chained tiger and a man known for clicks more than passion. Lahore-based content creator Nauman Hussain is again under fire, this time for attempting to kiss a restrained tiger in his latest Instagram video. The tiger stays calm, but the internet does not. The video has sparked outrage, calling the stunt unethical, unsafe, and deeply disturbing. And it's not the first time, from riding a massive tiger to getting clawed by a cheetah on his couch. Hassan's shocking acts blur the line between entertainment and exploitation. Wildlife experts warn that exotic pets are not status symbols. Over 100 tigers, viewers, are reportedly kept as pets in Pakistan, mainly in cruel and illegal conditions. While the views go up, the animal's dignity goes down. With that, we slip into a short break. Coming back on the other side, we'll talk more about the crackdown on illegal immigration under Trump 2.0 and why students are facing the brunt of it.
I urgently need to ask for your help on behalf of animals at risk right now. With the pandemic came a surge in pet ownership. And sadly, we're now seeing a serious rise in neglect, cruelty, and abuse. Our services are being stretched to the limit. To make matters worse, our costs are soaring too. But we refuse to let animals suffer. So please, act now to help rescue the growing number of animals who've never needed us more. Please call or text the number on screen now to give £2 a month to the RSPCA. In one of the toughest times we have ever experienced, your gift will make all the difference to animals. You could help provide more life-saving treatment, food, shelter, and the loving care that many have never known. We know there are millions of you who, like us, care deeply and won't stand by while animals are suffering. We have to reach those trapped in a life of abuse and neglect before it's too late. Because for many, the RSPCA is their only hope. But we can only come to the rescue with the support of people like you. So please, will you help us be there no matter what? Call 0800 313 4392 or text RSPCA to 78866 to start your monthly gift today. Thank you.
I think that there's something that's always there that I just need to uncover. Like, I know I'm gonna get there, but I have to be patient with myself. That's probably the scary part for me. And it's okay, like, if you completely pivot and change. You know, you have to be comfortable with that.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
In a stunning turn, an Indian student at the University of Wisconsin-Madison has halted the Trump administration's visa crackdown, at least for now. The 21-year-old Krish Isserdasani, weeks away from earning his engineering degree, suddenly found his student visa revoked without warning, without due process. His SEVIS record gone, his future thrown into chaos. But on 15th of April, federal Judge William Conley said enough. He blocked Homeland Security from cancelling Krish's visa, calling the government's actions legally shaky and potentially unjust. These students did nothing wrong, said the attorney Shabnam Lofty. They followed every rule. This is political, not lawful. This case isn't isolated. There are now 29 states across the U.S. where international students are quietly losing their legal status, some over minor incidents, others without explanation at all. Now, there are 4,000 international students who are being subjected to visa revocations across the U.S. Krish's alleged offense, well, it was a scuffle after leaving a bar. No charges filed, though, no conviction. Yet, he was nearly deported. Now, with the new hearing that is set for April 28th, this fight is far from over. But now, one student's stand may be the start of a nationwide reckoning, or at least it may be so, which is why the big questions that we are asking today on the U.S. Visa revocations are that much more important. First up, does this court ruling mark the beginning of resistance to Trump visa revocations? That's the first question that we are asking. Next up, why are students' visa records being deleted from SEVIS without notice? Next up, what message does visa crackdown send to international students? Because at the end of the day, US wants to attract global talent. Is this how global talent will be acquired and attracted? Sudhanshu Kaushik, who is the Executive Director of North American Association of Indian Students, joins me to talk more on this. Sudhanshu, it seems that every time we talk, we are only talking about more bad news coming in. But before we talk about those, I want to address the specific case of the student from University of Wisconsin-Madison who seems to have one reprieve, at least for now. What's the message from that ruling to all the students who are rattled?
Gaurie, I mean, you're right. It's a reprieve, but the operative words are for now. As we've seen in previous situations related and unrelated to F1 students, but when judges have ruled on, let's say, bringing back U.S. citizens back home, the Trump administration isn't following the judge's orders. So I'm not sure how long of a reprieve this is going to be, a respite, but we'll hope that something can come to conclusion that what they're doing is not just illegal, but it's so inconvenient, and it paints such a bad picture of this image that the U.S. had, worked on for the past 50, 60 years of complete freedom, autonomy, and progress while studying at a U.S. higher education system.
But in the sense, the fact that there are 4,000 students whose SEVIS record has now suddenly been wiped out, it's now, 10-year-old petty offences actually being picked up to ensure that you're being sent back. What's the message here, and how rattled are students right now, Sudhanshu? Because, there are lots and lots of Indian students who are going through there and who are going through this trauma as well.
The message is you're not welcome. Exactly what the message was on the campaign, it's being implemented now. People thought that they wouldn't be touched. People thought that they were legally here. People thought that they had followed all due process to come here, and this is what you get when you elect someone who made these promises on the campaign trail. Now, I am also shocked, even more, I thought I couldn't be, that during the campaign trail, there was a lot of rhetoric about how Donald Trump appreciated F1 talent that would come in, the H-1B, the students who were coming in. He would talk about the elite universities and how they were providing this education, and yet those are the ones he's been targeting. We looked at the data, Gaurie, and if we didn't look at the 4,000, we had a list of 1,200, which Inside Higher Education has done a beautiful job in placing and sourcing. We looked at the data and we saw that out of the 1,200, about 1/3 are F1 students that are of Indian origin that have been impacted, that have gotten their F1 visa status revoked. About 1/3 of the impact. Now, if you look at those 1/3, people normally would say, oh, they were participating in protests. You're gone to study, not to protest. But like you accurately said, these are things from minor events, and some people don't even know what they did, which is shocking. People have had their F1 student visa revoked for not and haven't been able to understand why they haven't. They didn't partake in any protest. They weren't involved in any scuffle. They had no court priors, and yet, their education has been taken away from them. The loans that they took for that education have been obviously gone to waste, and now they're at this point of what do we do without any.
What can students do, Sudhanshu? What can students do? Can they court this particular instance of the reprieve and get some reprieve from themselves, or do you think the Trump administration would revisit some of their orders?
I hope the Trump administration revisits their orders, but it seems like there's not any intent to do so at this point. In terms of the court orders, look, this is one ruling that might actually just be overruled by another judge, right? It's going to work its way up to the court until it goes up to eventually the Supreme Court, which I don't know if it will or not. But maybe it might act as legal precedent, but the situation is so evolving.
Yes.
And the most scariest thing, though, is regardless of if this precedent has been set, the Trump administration is not listening to the courts when it comes to deportation and F1 visas. So you don't know, even if another court says that, hey, you can't do this, what does that even mean? Previously, before January 20th, 2025, you could say, okay, if the law of the land has been placed, they have said that, the administration will have to follow. Not anymore.
Not anymore, indeed. Sudhanshu, always a pleasure to have you decode. Hopefully next time we talk about something brighter when it comes to international students and their future right now during Trump 2.0. Well, viewers, a federal judge has sharply criticized Trump administration officials for failing to act on a Supreme Court order to bring back a Salvadoran man who was deported last month. 29-year-old Kilmer Abrigo Garcia was sent to a mega prison in El Salvador despite legal protections that should have kept him in the U.S. The judge has said that nothing has been done and gave the government 2 weeks to show concrete steps. While the Supreme Court has said that the U.S. must facilitate his return, the Department of Homeland Security now says that the man from Maryland would be detained if he tries to re-enter. The Trump team defends the deportation, citing alleged gang MS-13 ties, which his family has very vehemently denied all along. In fact, staying with Trump administration, has Donald Trump really slammed Chinese imports with a staggering 245% tariff? Some headlines say yes, and the truth is that not across the board. Trump did not announce a brand new 245% tariff. In fact, the White House fact sheet released on the 15th of April mentioned that some goods now face up to that rate, but not all, and only after stacking multiple tariffs that are already in place. So the base tariff is there, and there are only some particular categories where it goes up all the way till 245%. Add in pre-2025 protectionist rates, sector-specific duties, fentanyl-related levies, and Trump's new 125% reciprocal hike, and that's where you arrive at that figure. For a few select items, that is your Chinese syringes, all these layered combined can lead to an eye-popping 245%. Of course, it's not across the board, as I said, but that's the maxed out rate on which some of the goods that are manufactured out of China will attract that levy. So yes, one can look at it both ways, whether is the sky falling or is it only partially so. But at the end of the day, the larger question is that what happens going forward in terms of the Trump trade war that is on between US and China. As Trump teases more trade action, the economic chessboard is only getting more complicated. And in the war of words and tariffs, headlines are what as they stand right now, which is that 245% exists, but not as I said, a blanket rate, but layered going up to that level. All right, let's get in Peter Cardillo, who joins me to talk more on this. He's Chief Market Economist at the Spartan Capital Securities, to talk more about what are the possible options, if at all there are any, Peter, at this stage, given the fact that this trade war is only escalating. One is seeing new tariffs being levied every single day and possibly more hawkish positions being taken up by both China and the US.
Yeah, that's right, and I think that's going to be the key to this trade war. As the trade war between China and the United States escalates and things get rougher, the markets will resent that, and the markets will eventually basically send a loud message to Washington and to Beijing that they need to work out a deal. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. But in the interim, obviously, there's probably going to be more pain in terms of market declines and, of course, uncertainties. And those uncertainties are going to slow down the growth, both here in the States and in China as well. And of course, the biggest risk is whether or not China retaliates to a full-blown currency war. In the past few days, we've seen China retaliate. Yesterday, they blocked orders from Boeing, and of course, you know, they have still tools in their shed that they can use. So I think the more hawkish rhetoric that comes out of Washington and more retaliations from China will probably force the hands of either Beijing or Washington to reverse course and get serious on making some sort of a trade deal, or we run the risk of the present trade agreement falling apart, and that would be very dangerous for the world economies.
It really would be very dangerous for the world economy, which is why some estimates that have just come in indicate that this could have long-term and possibly even dire consequences, simply because these are the largest and the second largest economies in the world, and their trade and their trading relationship has impact on the world as well. In fact, data that is just coming in and news that is just coming in indicates that the WTO has said that the US-China trade could actually plunge very significantly given what is happening, given these trade tensions that are taking place. You share that pessimistic view?
Yeah, you know, and I think the more, as I said before, the more negative sentiment we get, the more pessimistic outlook we get, that will force Washington or Beijing to sit at the table and work out a deal. I don't think it's the plan of President Trump or Xi Jinping to send the global economy into a tailspin, because it would only mean that their economies are going to do likewise, and that would also create social unrest in all countries. And so I think, you know, somewhere along the line that should be averted.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, that should be, and as we are talking, WTO has in fact warned on the Trump tariffs, and he has said, and WTO has said that global trade could actually reverse at some level. It's a very significant statement that's coming in from the World Trade Organization. Not only is it becoming completely irrelevant in present times, Peter, very quickly, you want to respond to what WTO is essentially saying, which is that global trade, globalization under immense threat right now.
Yeah, well, look, there's no question that globalization is going to change. I mean, that's basically what Washington wants. And the question is, how drastically will it change? So hopefully there won't be much damage to globalization, but the way trade will be carrying on forward is definitely, there will definitely be a change in sight.
And lastly, do you think that there is any possibility of some sort of a trade negotiation that may come in between US and China? Because these are hawkish positions, but they also sort of set the stage for a possible deal or a possible give and take. Do you see that?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to answer that very quickly, and what I will say is this: is that when the markets get in dire straits, you can rest assured that there will be a change.
All right, let's leave it there, Peter. Thanks much for joining me. I'm going to slip into a very short break. Come back on the other side with breaking news about US Vice President J.D. Vance, who's departed for his first ever visit to India and Italy. Stay with us. We come back with that news.
Be the one thing that can change everything. Be bold.
Be authentic.
Be brilliant.
Be the unexpected.
Be an open heart.
Be true.
The beauty.
The laughter.
The laughter. In a world where you can be anything.
Be love. Be love.
Be love. Be love.
My love is your love.
Pandora.
This is an important message for people living with diabetes from people living with diabetes.
When I was experiencing the symptoms of diabetes, I didn't know what was going on.
You go on the internet and it's full of horror stories. You don't know where to begin and you don't know what to believe.
I didn't understand about carbs, I didn't understand about blood glucose levels.
I was scared and I was worried.
I didn't understand diabetes full stop.
That's why the support I get as a Diabetes UK member is so important.
You can become a Diabetes UK member too. To join us now, just call 0800 144 5406 and become a member today for just £3 a month. When you do, you'll receive a practical guide specific to your type of diabetes and a copy of Balance magazine 4 times a year. Balance is filled with news and inspiring real-life stories from members just like you. And you'll receive regular emails and vital updates that will help you feel informed and supported. Plus, you'll help support research that could lead to better treatments for all types of diabetes.
Membership makes life better because you're not alone anymore.
Call 0800 144 5406 or go online to become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month, because membership can help you learn to live better with diabetes.
Someone's happy. Get that lucky cow feeling with luckycowbingo.com/bingo. The site that's bursting with beautiful bingo games. 75 ball bingo. Even 90 ball bingo. Fill your bingo boots today. Get that lucky cow feeling at luckycowbingo.com/bingo or download the Lucky Cow Android app from the Play Store.
For me, it's about getting your base structure right and then looking at what you've got. I'm constantly just changing things. Looking at like different aspects of nature and how they fit together and, you know, having your personality come through your product. And it takes a lot of work to feel this effortless, but I always know when it's right.
Has departed for his first ever visit to India. This will be the first time that J.D. Vance and his wife, Usha Vance, will be in India. It's set to be a 3-day visit. But let's get in my colleague Mohammad Ghazali to tell us more about the significance of this and what could be the kind of possible outcomes that we should be looking out for. Ghazali?
Yeah, so first talking about Italy, though Mr. Vance is going to Italy and on Saturday, second round of Iran-US talks is happening, but Mr. Vance will not be part of that talks. Now coming to India, it is a very significant trip following Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, who visited recently. Mr. Vance and Mr. Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor, are expected to visit India on 21st of April. And the National Security Advisor and the Vice President, they both will be meeting their counterparts here in India, the Foreign Minister, as well as NSA Ajit Doval and Prime Minister Modi as well. It is expected that Prime Minister Modi, before leaving for Saudi Arabia for his 2-day visit, will be meeting Mr. Vance. Now, what will be up for agenda? There is this collaboration called Trust, transforming the relationship utilizing strategic technology, which is a reformed form of the earlier treaty, the kind of collaboration between the two countries called this was between India and US between when Mr. Biden was the president. So basically this is a collaboration between the two countries when it comes to governments, academia and private sectors of India and United States on critical and emerging technologies in areas such as defense, artificial intelligence, semiconductors, quantum computing, biotechnology, energy and space. So basically besides the discussion on collaboration on other issues and other spheres, these will be the focus of this trip when Mr. Vance will be here alongside the National Security Advisor Mr. Mike Waltz. So both the leaders from US are also expected to talk about how India and US can deepen their ties when it comes to combat terrorism, also immigration as well, because these are the two key issues which has engulfed the headlines in the United States these days, immigration, deportation, as well as combating terrorism. And that is why when Tulsi Gabbard was here, she also spoke about that how India and US will jointly work together to combat global terrorism.
The second family will be here in India for their very first visit. They're also set to in fact be traveling to a couple of areas as well. Talk to us about what could be their broad itinerary like when they are in India.
They're expected to travel to Hyderabad in Andhra Pradesh as well as in Tamil Nadu, where it is expected that the wife of Mr. Vance belongs to, she is of Indian origin. So her ancestral places, the locations where her parents have been born and brought up are the places where she is expected to visit. Mr. Vance, as the US Embassy and other officials are claiming that this is professional and personal both as a visit. So Mr. Vance is expected to be in Delhi and meet the officials, while his wife will be is likely to visit those places in India like Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu.
All right, Ghazali, let's leave it there. Breaking news coming in, as I said, on India Global. J.D. Vance, US Vice President, on his third international trip. It will be to Italy and then to India. The second family will be here in New Delhi, followed by being in Agra, Jaipur and possibly in Hyderabad as well, given that the second lady originally comes from Hyderabad. Her parents immigrated to the US few decades back. All right, moving on. A historic pivot has taken place from Lebanon's highest office. President Joseph has announced a bold, controversial plan, which is to disarm Hezbollah by the end of 2025. Well, is it too good to be true? Is it something that the president can even have a say on? The decision has been made to place all weapons under the state, he announced, revealing a high-stakes roadmap of bilateral talks with the terrorist organization Hezbollah and not confrontation. Again, as I said, is it even possible? Remains to be seen. Hezbollah is Iranian proxy. But this could dismantle one of West Asia's most entrenched terrorist organizations. The road ahead, though, is riddled with enough and more danger, even as the president is hopeful that this could lead to the end of a possible civil war. He's even told the US envoy that we want to remove Hezbollah's weapons, but we will not ignite Lebanon. Now, of course, remains to be seen whether it's even possible. He claims, the Lebanon president claimed, that IDF troops in 5 disputed Lebanese zones are giving Hezbollah a pretext to stay armed. In a new twist, France may now enter the fray, as French President Macron reportedly offering historic French maps to back Lebanon's claim to the volatile Sheba Farms region, a flashpoint between Hezbollah and Israel. Disarming Hezbollah would reshape Lebanon and shake the region. But the point is, can the president even do? Because Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy and the president of Lebanon has little to no leverage over the terrorist organization. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff are set to visit Paris this week for key talks on Ukraine, Iran and trade. Witkoff will meet French President Emmanuel Macron while Rubio speaks with his French counterpart. The visit comes shortly after Witkoff met Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow, part of a slow-moving push for a possible ceasefire in Ukraine. Macron, meanwhile, is rallying European support for Kyiv, including the idea of a reassurance force if fighting indeed stops. Trade tensions are also expected to feature in these talks, as Trump's recent tariff suspension faces skepticism from Paris. The White House is under fire after a massive shake-up in press access, just days after losing a court battle to the Associated Press. For decades, wire services like the AP, Reuters and Bloomberg were always there, documenting every word and every moment of a presidency, but no more. On Tuesday, the Trump administration announced it's eliminating permanent pool access for wire services, a move that many believe is pure political payback. Well, it follows a lawsuit from the AP which refused to rename the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America, defying a Trump executive order. The White House responded by blocking their access. A federal judge ruled that the viewpoint discrimination is unconstitutional. But rather than to comply, the White House rewrote the rules, removing the AP and others from guaranteed spots. Now the administration says it will pick and choose who gets access on a daily basis. At the end of the day, the administration's response is that new media needs to also be given access, and traditional media cannot be the only one having this priority. UNICEF has said that it expects a 20% cut to its 2026 budget after the US slashed humanitarian aid under President Trump's America First policy. The agency had nearly $9 billion in 2024, but now anticipates a steep cut, citing a growing global funding crisis. The US has historically been UNICEF's largest donor, contributing about $800 million last year. Trump's broader aid review has already forced major cutbacks across several other multilateral agencies. With staff layoffs and program reductions looming, UNICEF has said that it's reassessing operations to protect what matters the most: child survival and well-being. China has issued over 85,000 visas to Indian students between 1st of January and 9th of April this year, signaling a thaw in people-to-people ties between Beijing and New Delhi. Chinese envoy to India invited more Indians to visit, calling China open, safe and friendly. This comes amidst rising global trade tensions, especially with the US. President Trump has threatened new tariffs on Chinese goods, and in response, Beijing has urged India to stand against what it calls a US tariff abuse, adding a diplomatic edge to an otherwise power move. With that, completely timed out in this edition of India Global. Thanks so much for watching. You've been nominated several times for the Grammys, but what it's been like the last 20
Get £8 off at selected restaurants on Just Eat. Use code APRIL8 now.
Did somebody say Just Eat?
The Sharps half-price spring sale is now on. Get Sharps bespoke fitted furniture for every room, from bedrooms to home offices and living spaces. Many ranges are now half price, including our best-selling shaker range. Our exclusive Space Plus system means we won't be beaten on space. Plus, you get our 15-year guarantee for total peace of mind. The Sharps half-price spring sale ends Easter Monday. Book your free home design visit today at sharps.co.uk.
I think that there's something that's always there that I just need to uncover. Like, I know I'm gonna get there, but I have to be patient with myself. That's probably the scary part for me. And it's okay, like, if you completely pivot and change. You know, you have to be comfortable with that.
It feels good knowing that your future's in hand. Evlo can offer you a loan from £1,000 to £15,000. Get your conditional decision in minutes.
What they don't tell you about getting older is how much fun it can be. Enjoying all the things you've worked so hard for. Spending time with the people that really matter. Not to mention, finally finding that precious time for yourself. I don't want anything taking my best years away from me, but like so many people, I've seen the heartbreak that dementia can cause. That's why I'm asking everyone to order this essential free guide from Alzheimer's Research UK. It's called Your Brain Matters. We all know what's good for our heart and our lungs, but do you know how to keep your brain healthy too? Well, this guide tells you how, in 7 steps you can start taking right now, whatever your age. Just ring the number on screen to get your free copy. Inside